Hello and welcome to Noble, a platform that connects people through stories. And today, of course, we want to talk about the power of storytelling. With me, I have a guest, and I will let her introduce herself. Then we delve deep into the power of storytelling. So, Cheboy, welcome to Noble.
Hi Noblers, my name is Cheboy, a writer, storyteller, and lover of life. Glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Andre.
We are so pleased to have you here. So just to start, you introduce yourself or you identify yourself as a storyteller. Why do you identify yourself as a storyteller?
I can say I introduce myself as a storyteller because stories are home for me. I love telling stories and I love listening to other people's stories. Hence, I identify myself as a storyteller.
All right.
Yes.
So when we were growing up, some of the lessons I remember in school were to stand before the students and tell stories. They could be folk tales, they could be how your experience was.
Yes.
What do you think is the place of storytelling in the society today?
Stories are significant in a couple of ways. And first of all, stories are used to educate. Yes. When someone reprimands you straight on, you may become defensive, but when they bring the lesson home through a story, it will stick and you will appreciate how the delivery has been done. I can say stories are meant to bring fun in families, in homes, among friends and all that, where you get to share, interesting experiences and all that. Yes. And basically stories are used to inspire, where you struggle through something, came out victorious, and you're sure that when I share this with my leader, Andre, they will be inspired to carry on and not give up.
Sure thing. Yeah. So I know you did not wake up one day and say, I am a storyteller. When did you make the discovery that storytelling is such a powerful tool? Did you have an incident when you told your story and then you felt differently? When did you pick up the identity of a storyteller or just identify the power of storytelling in the society?
My first job was banking, and I got to lose my job, I think, some years back. And then in 2016, I joined the second cohort of Emerging Leaders Foundation Africa Fellowship. And part of the introductory module had storytelling in it. And during that time, we were paired up. And I was able to share my story with my partner, and they shared their story with me. But during the presentation, my partner shared my story with the audience. And I did share his story with the audience. So that is when I discovered the power of storytelling, because listening to my story from someone else's perspective was powerful. Especially the words they used to describe me after telling my story. She said, this is one strong-willed woman, and I can see her going places, what she's lived through, what she has endured. Her story has just started been written, and it will be amazing. So that was the day I discovered how powerful stories are.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. I know there are those instances when you listen to someone's story and then it changes your life or it changes your perspective.
Yes.
Iyanla Van Zandt in her book, In the Meantime, talks about, she says that when you tell your story and you tell it well, it can heal you and heal other people. Have you ever had an instance where you told your story and then it made someone else open up, or it healed somebody, or the vice versa?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And just a quick example, there was a program we used to run with the Emerging Leaders Foundation, and I was a facilitator for the storytelling and life mapping session. Yes. So the way I introduce myself, I say Cheboy is my name, the black and beautiful queen. I remember when I did introduce myself, a lady in the audience, one of the participants, broke down and left the room. Wow. And then came back after a while. They listened through my story, and immediately I was done. They needed to have a conversation with me. And I remember going to a corner with her,
Yes.
and she told me, like, you are the same skin tone as I,
Yes.
and yet you are so confident and you love yourself. You know, you introduce yourself like the black and beautiful queen and all.
Yes.
For me, I've struggled with my skin color. I have tried bleaching and it backfired.
Yes.
I have tried committing suicide. I've attempted suicide because I felt I was not beautiful and all that. But immediately you introduced yourself, something shifted.
All right.
And after listening to your story, I realized how beautiful I am, how amazing. My dreams are valid. I can dream, I can do that because of that introduction and because of your story. So through sharing my experiences in the session, someone was liberated to accept themselves, to fall in love with themselves again, to appreciate how beautiful their melanin is.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think to be able to tell your story requires some awareness of who you are,
Yes.
and also the courage to be vulnerable. Whenever you tell your story,
Yes.
do you consider it as a point of vulnerability where you pour yourself to the other person, or what does someone require for them to be able to tell their story in a way that it would heal them?
Authenticity, and I can say storytelling is all about vulnerability, and you can't be vulnerable if you're not authentic. So I realize that when you're authentic, your story will heal people, it will inspire people, it will give them a mindset shift. You know, they will live their rich with ideas, with emotions and all that. And I have been vulnerable severally, and I've realized people connect with me on a deeper level when I share about my mistakes in my stories, how I messed up, the consequences that I faced after, and the lessons I picked. And I love doing that because it enables people to continue their lives from the point of advantage, learning from Cheboy's mistakes. And okay, we are always encouraged in storytelling. If you're sharing your story and it is a safe space, feel free to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. But what people are not told is you will realize there are experiences you can't talk about yet. And after experiencing a coaching session, I learned all experiences need to go full circle. When you share a story or an experience that hasn't gone full circle, you are not empowering someone else and you will be hurting yourself. So in your storytelling session or journey, feel free to share what you're comfortable sharing. Because when an experience has come full circle, you won't even tell yourself, I'll share about how I lost my job in the banking industry. It will come naturally. And that is when you realize that experience has come full circle. And by sharing that, you'll be empowering someone who's going through the same to realize that if Cheboy did it, I can be able to go through it and emerge victorious.
So it means that when you tell your story, both your strong points, the weak points, or your triumph and your failures, it comes after you have also accepted these things, and it heals you in the process. For it to heal somebody else, it means that first of all, your willingness to share your story has already healed you.
Absolutely.
All right.
And you will realize that in some of the storytelling sessions, people won't accept to share their story. And it's because they have gone through a lot of experiences that are unprocessed. Sitting into a storytelling session opens your mind or takes you back in your journey. You will connect your dots looking backwards. What is happening to me now? Who I am now? What are the experiences I went through that have shaped who I am right now? And it is okay not to want to share your story when you're not ready. Because when you are, when you're liberated, it will come naturally. And you will be able to share your story anywhere, anyhow, and all that. And just one question for you, Andre. I know you are an amazing orator, an amazing storyteller. So when did you discover the power of storytelling, and why do you love stories so much?
Of course, one of the reasons why we started Noble was to create this platform where we can have people to tell their story. We don't have so many platforms that specifically wants people to share the human stories and all that.
Yes.
Mine goes back also to ELF, Emerging Leaders Foundation Africa,
Yes.
where, you know, we back in the days, 2018, I had just lost an election in the university,
Yeah.
and it took a toll on me. So to rediscover myself, to reassure myself that it wasn't a mistake, it was a moment in life where I did not win.
Yes.
You know, once you lose, you start having the internal dialogue that reminds you
Yes.
how you're not good enough. All the ideas that you put out there,
Yeah.
people can't buy it. That's why they didn't vote for you.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have what it takes. So we went through a program called the Changamka Mentorship Program.
Yes.
And you said something very powerfully, that one of the reasons why we don't tell our stories is because, or we are not willing to tell our stories because we've not processed
Yeah.
some of the life journey, you know, the cycles that we've had in life.
Yes.
So I had these internal conversations about me,
Yes.
trying to wonder, why did I lose the elections and all that? So we come to the Changamka Mentorship Program,
Yes.
and then we are taken through the life map, you know,
Yes.
that has got all the ups and downs, and you can see like the scales running up and down and all that. So I realized when I started like penning down and drawing the map,
Yes.
you know, drawing the scales there, I realized I was processing myself.
Awesome.
And for whatever reason, I was chosen to go and present my story
Yes.
up there. And I got to a moment when I was sharing that I was very emotional.
Yeah.
And it was a safe space for me, and I opened up. And when I went to sit down, I felt healed. I felt like it was a therapy session
Yeah.
for me.
Uh-huh.
So that is the moment I realized that when you tell your story,
Yes.
it has got the power of healing you as well.
Absolutely.
And I realized that my story made other people be willing now to share their
share
story,
theirs,
to
absolutely.
embrace those
Yeah.
down moments and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that was my moment.
what you've shared just reminded me, the very first time I shared my story, I remember I cried throughout the process. And now that you mention, you realized it was a processing moment for me. I think it was as well. Reflecting and processing all events that took place. And the second time I did share, I cried less and less. And right now, I never cry when I share my story, because I think through sharing, we heal parts of ourselves that were still struggling, that we hadn't accepted and all that. Amazing.
Sure thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was Noble